Konnichiwa. Today we're not just looking at containers, we're looking at vessels of mindful tradition, exploring the deep cultural roots of the Japanese tea caddy. More than just storage, these objects embody the spirit of Zen, the appreciation of simplicity, imperfection, and natural beauty, the very essence of wabi-sabi. Today, we explore three timeless types: the earthen clay Cha-ire, the lacquer wood Natsume, and the raw wood turned Caddies, and when you would want to use each one to enhance your own daily tea experience.
Konnichiwa, Fujii Diane to moshimasu. Hi, I'm Diane Fujii, but please just call me Dai. I'm half Japanese, born and raised in Hawaii. In my youth, I spent my summer vacations living with my grandparents in Yokohama, just outside of Tokyo. Then in college, I homestayed across Japan, learning about the culture and starting to collect vintage Japanese items. So if you cherish matcha as I do and wish to weave mindfulness and Japanese culture into your daily routine, I'd like to invite you along as I learn more about the way of tea.
Our journey begins 1,000 years ago when ceramic tea caddies, like this antique one from China, came over during the Song Dynasty. These small lidded vessels originally held oils, spices, and medicines. Zen monks began using tea in their meditation practice, calm the body, and keep the mind alert at the same time. They found these ceramic tea containers convenient to hold their precious tea. Over time, tea ceremonies became a high-status social gatherings for the samurai and aristocracy, with imported Chinese ceramics being prized for their exotic appeal and used as status symbols. Samurai would often accept prized Chinese tea bowls and tea caddies instead of land and castles. The great tea master, Mr. Sen-no Rikyu, felt these fancy tea parties had lost their way from their original Zen roots of simple humility and appreciation of nature. So in the 1500s, he decided to have the Japanese start making their own humble, rustic ceramic tea caddies from the ancient kilns of Seto and Bizen. These ceramic tea caddies were called Cha-ire. In Japanese, the word cha means tea and ire means to put in. So literally a vessel to put tea in. This was a profound change. The tea ceremony turned away from flashy opulence and embraced wabi-sabi, finding beauty in the simple and imperfect. These Japanese tea caddies hold a quiet dignity of being unglazed. These handmade pots were put into kilns, and the decorations you see here are from the ash falling onto the container, dripping down, natural feldspar in the clay bursting upon firing, or in this cha-ire, rice straw was soaked in salt water to produce hidasuki, which literally translates to fire cords. During firing, the salt and straw create a chemical reaction and turn red, looking as though they were painted with flames. In the tea ceremony, cha-ire hold a prestigious position as one of the highest ranking utensils, often the most valuable and symbolically important. These cha-ire containers held the most precious and best quality matcha powder, particularly for preparing koi-cha, which is a thick, concentrated matcha. Koi means concentrated or thick, and like we learned earlier, cha is the word for tea. Koi-cha uses twice as much matcha powder and is stirred gently with no foam. It has a smooth, luxurious, and velvety texture, and because it is concentrated, only the best grade matcha is used. Higher grade matcha is more floral with grassy notes. Lesser grade matcha would be too bitter to use. And unlike regular matcha preparations, koi-cha is prepared and shared in one tea bowl. That single tea bowl is passed around and shared intimately among guests after enjoying a formal, multi-dish kaiseki meal. The host of the tea ceremony presents the cha-ire with great care, often wrapped in a silk pouch called a shifuku, which protects it and adds to its aesthetic display. As a high-status item, it is handled with extreme care. The cha-ire had to be presented on a lacquer tray as seen here. Guests may admire it during the tea ceremony, and the type and style of the ceramic cha-ire, along with its different shifuku or bag, reflects the host's taste and the season or occasion. And they are typically ceramic to preserve the tea's flavor without imparting other outside flavors. The underside of the lid is often adorned with a thin layer of gold, highlighting the vessel's prestige, rarity, and elevated status. The gold leaf also acts as a protective barrier, protecting the finely powdered matcha from moisture and air. In tea schools like ura-senki or omote-senki, the ceramic chaire are reserved for advanced practitioners and formal gatherings. This little jar, through its raw, unpolished nature, reminds us that true elegance lies not in perfection, but in the quietness of the moment. These vessels, however, are not airtight, so matcha powder should not be stored in them long term. From the earth's raw embrace in ceramic Cha-ire, we now turn to the lightweight Natsume tea caddies. These fruit-shaped tea caddies, where wood containers are gracefully covered in multiple layers of lacquer and are then painted to reflect the changing seasons. As the way of tea evolved, a new aesthetic emerged for a different kind of tea ceremony, a more casual ritual inviting everyone to partake in tea. And the Natsume tea caddy led the way. It's named after the jeju fruit, otherwise known as the Chinese date. It's thought that Natsume tea caddies evolved in the 15th century, originally from wooden medicine boxes like these, or possibly even the wood boxes that held the more valuable ceramic chaire. Tea master Mr. Rikyu introduced usucha, literally meaning thin tea matcha, as a lighter, more accessible form of tea to merchants and the upper class. In the past, usucha, what we know of as matcha today, was frowned upon due to its lower quality and storage in simple jars. But Mr. Rikyu decided to elevate it by adapting these lacquerware containers as a prized accessory in the tea ceremony. Lacquerware is a complicated and time-consuming process, whereby a wood container is covered with dozens of layers of natural resin called urushi. This resin is hand-collected from a rare tree in Japan, and during its lifetime, each tree only produces about 1 cup of this urushi lacquer. After each coat, the tea caddy must dry for days in a special room or closet that is kept damp and humid. This is what makes true lacquer Natsume tea caddies so expensive, with some costing up to $5,000. It's a complicated and time-consuming handmade craft. If you would like to learn more about this process and how to tell a real Natsume tea caddy apart from the ones made from plastic, please let me know in the comments and I'll make a video about it. Lacquer artisans took these wooden boxes and layered them with black urushi sap. Initially, these containers were solid black like this one to highlight the bright green color of the matcha powder. Over time, they are painted and decorated like this antique Chinese lacquer tea caddy. Initially, the black lacquer natsume were used more often as a symbol of formality, but over time, red and other playful colors were introduced, allowing access to the tea ceremony for all. You can also find some like this one that has mother of pearl inlaid into the lacquer. The most expensive natsume use a process called makie, where gold is sprinkled onto the lacquer while it's still wet, in essence painting the tea caddy with real gold and silver powder, while this black natsume has both silver and gold leaf painted designs. I do love when an artist signs their work on the bottom. Natsume tea caddies are of meticulous craft and refinement. The painted designs visually reflect the season and a feeling the host wants to share with their guests. A gold makie iris carries deep cultural associations, especially in connection with the historical samurai class. The long, pointed sword-like leaves of the iris plant are visually associated with sword blades, and the Japanese word for iris, shobu, is a homophone for a word meaning spirit and victory. This makes the iris a symbol of strength, courage, and perseverance, and this design is used typically in May and June when irises are in full bloom. Delicate cherry blossoms, or sakura, is the quintessential symbol of the fleeting yet sad beauty of existence. The fact that these flowers are only beautiful for a short, intense period is a powerful reminder of impermanence, a central theme in Zen Buddhism. This design is usually used in spring during cherry blossom season. Authentic urushi lacquer pieces remain prized and usually come in a signed box. While the ceramic Cha-ire is reserved for formal tea gatherings, the lacquer natsume is associated with hospitality and lightness. Both are used in the tea ceremony and embody the principles of harmony, purity, respect, and tranquility. Like Chaire, Natsume tea caddies are not airtight, so matcha powder should not be stored in them long term. Beyond the high drama of the ceramic Chaire and the refined elegance of the lacquered Natsume, there is a different kind of tea caddy that speaks to a quieter, more practical beauty: the round, raw, wooden tea caddy, or Chazutsu. The history of the wooden tea caddy, particularly the cylindrical ones you see here, is slightly separate from the formal tea ceremony. While the Cha-ire and Natsume were central to the ritual of matcha, these raw wood containers became popular later, during the Edo period from the 16th through 1800s, coinciding with the rise of loose-leaf tea drinking among the general public. As tea culture spread to the masses, people needed functional, durable, and more affordable ways to store their loose-leaf tea. Craftsmen branched out from the small, high-status ceramic tea caddies and began working with local woods and natural materials. The resulting Chazutsu, or tea cylinder, are objects of everyday utility and designed not for display in a formal tea room, but for the crucial task of preserving tea in the average home. You might notice that many of the highest quality wooden caddies are left as raw wood. This is not simply an aesthetic choice, it is entirely functional. Unlike ceramic or tin, which seal off the tea completely, wood is a naturally porous and moisture-regulating material. Tea, particularly delicate Japanese green tea, is highly sensitive to humidity and temperature changes. Raw wood, especially specific types like cherry and cypress wood, act as a natural insulator and buffer. It gently absorbs and releases small amounts of moisture from the air into the tea, helping to keep the tea at stable humidity levels. They also create an incredibly precise, naturally airtight seal. Japanese craftsmen will often show how the inner and outer lids slide perfectly down, highlighting the airtight seal. These barks also have natural antimicrobial properties, helping to preserve the tea's freshness. The goal is to not create a complete vacuum, but rather maintain a consistent environment in the tea caddy by protecting the matcha from bright light and changes in the outside environment. This helps preserve their delicate flavor, aroma, and color. These are natural qualities that the raw wood already provides, and this works perfectly with the Japanese Zen aesthetic of appreciating nature in its pure form. Many of the finest raw wooden tea caddies are still made by hand from locally sourced Japanese woods. I use the larger Chazutsu for my hojicha powder since it's roasted and less sensitive to the environment. My smaller Chazutsu is used for my matcha powder in smaller quantities. Because they are airtight and breathe with the environment, they are better for storage long term. In each case, the wood is chosen for its natural protective properties, proving that the best technology for preservation often comes from nature itself. In the end, whether large or small, coated in rich lacquer, or left in its beautiful raw state, each matcha tea caddy is a quiet celebration of human craftsmanship, a reminder that a simple container, when treated with reverence and intention, elevates the daily ritual of having tea. To further study these and other handmade Japanese matcha bowls, subscribe o onegai shimasu. Mata ne! See you again.